an evolutionary conversation from the emerging paradigm. I'm so grateful to be here with you. My name is John Jacob Mubarak, and you know what? I think that I can put our names up there. I wonder why our names aren't up there. And while I'm trying to figure that out, I think I might just oh, there we go, right here. There's this little button that says, very perfect. There are names, yay. So I want to welcome everybody. I have an amazing guest. You're seeing this beautiful being, radiant, live from Israel. Chen Lizra is joining us. And while we are, and look, people are flooding in. Welcome everybody. Yay. So great, so great. So, I wanted to take a quick moment and talk about rhythmia, but y'all are flooding in, and I think we can just get right to it because I have this beautiful guest, Chen Lizra, who, again, as I said, is joining us from Israel. Are you in Tel Aviv?
No, I'm just outside of Tel Aviv.
Outside of Tel Aviv. And this beautiful person that I got to have the wonderful privilege of meeting at Rhythmia, and we just fell instantly in spiritual love with each other.
Yes.
Yes, it really was. It was love at first sight. And so let me tell you about Chen briefly, because we're going to find out a lot more about her and what she's up to in the world. But Chen is an amazing individual who had a wildly successful TED Talk on the power of seduction. And she is also an award-winning entrepreneur, and indeed a phenomenal entrepreneur, best-selling author, and a professional dancer. She learned all about the power of seduction while living in Cuba, where she was deeply inspired by the culture of body confidence there. And so we're going to talk a lot more about what Chen's up to and the power of somatic intelligence. But I just want to say, Chen, welcome and thank you. It's 9:30, 10 o'clock right now where you are. So thank you for being here.
10 o'clock at night, but hey, JJ, if I get to spend time with you, I'm happy.
It's really wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So tell us, what I really wanted to share with everyone is a little bit about your own story of becoming, how you moved. You were a professional dancer, like that was your expression. And then that journey from not just being a dancer, but how you brought in spiritual development, consciousness, etc., into this beautiful expression of art that developed into somatic intelligence and your entrepreneurial expression now.
Well, actually, I started as an animator.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was an animator before. And I think this is where I get kind of like the creative juices when you see suddenly producing like a cool video and there is a storyline behind, or you see something that's really beautifully designed that comes from that. And that's the palette of colors of designs and storytelling and working on TV shows for so long. And then I had my dance academy. And I think that moving from something that I really loved creatively, but being so burned out because I used to work 14-hour days and then 7 days a week, and then going into something that worked with the body that demanded balance while doing business school, which is the complete opposite, right? Like from artist to business school and doing dance, I was looking to leave the life that I was living in order to really align with my soul, to really feel like I'm making a difference and an impact, and like what I did mattered. And the decision that I made at the time to change the path that I was on was in a Buddhist monastery, sitting and meditating in silence and looking for what the answer was inside. It wasn't just a logical decision. And I was like, I remember saying to myself, whatever the answer will be, I will accept it, whatever the answer. And when it was business school, I freaked out. I was like, what? Like, I didn't come here to sit in silence to get this answer. But that was the answer. So I surrendered because I said to myself before, whatever answer will come, it's my truth. I will surrender. Mm-hmm. And I trusted in the path, and it revealed itself over time. And, you mentioned the TED Talk, and I hear this a lot when people say to me, wow, the TED Talk, now when you look back where you are now, it was just a little firework of something a lot bigger. And it's true, because somatic intelligence is so much deeper than just the little thing of the seduction. The seduction got a lot of attention because it's juicy, it's interesting, because it was so embodied, like to come with seduction and kind of behave it and not just speak about it is something that, because it was so embodied, I think that it kind of landed on people. So it really took some time for all the pieces to come together. And then you could tell when it landed, because as I was starting to kind of broadcast that out, people said, "You found your thing, didn't you?" And it felt like home. Like I'm on purpose.
And I want to know more about that, but it occurred to me that maybe I should have asked or asked you to tell a little bit about exactly what you are doing. One of the comments is, WTF is Sabrasura, right? And so what is your current, tell everyone about the power of somatic intelligence and what your work in the world is, so they can understand what you mean by seduction and embodiment.
Right. That's a great question. So, first of all, somatic intelligence is the wisdom in our body. So somatic is through the body, soma is the body, and intelligence is the wisdom. So we have incredible wisdom in our body.
Yes.
We're able to understand ourselves and what we need and how to balance and how to heal ourselves. And we have the capacity to um, create resilience just by doing somatic practices that tap into, like, I can bring the energy right now when I'm talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
The energy is in my base.
Mm-hmm.
If I bring up the energy up, I will sound like this, and I'm not embodied anymore. And now I bring the energy in the body to the base, and I'm embodied and present. So that little trick, for example, that's somatic intelligence. That's the wisdom in our body. So it took me a long time to learn all these things from all these different wisdoms around the world and put it together. And I called it the power of somatic intelligence, and kind of collecting all these amazing things that work that take forever to find, so that people don't have to go like me for 25 years and search all around the globe for the best things. And
Right.
then when someone asks about the sabrosura is the sensuality. So we all have innate sensuality, men and women alike, that we're born with, and it's connected to our motherly love and to self-love and to the feminine divine. It's the feminine divine embodied when we can move with that, and it's connected to our vulnerability and being able to be soft. And it's something that I've learned in Cuba on how to embody it, and it's something super healing for trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I teach a lot. So I'm teaching people different things about somatic intelligence, whether that's in emotional resilience and how to create that in the body through practices. I teach women the embodied femininity, how to really tap and come back home in the most profound and yummy way. And a lot of other yummy things like seduction.
And it's not just, I mean, the power of femininity and the divine feminine isn't just about biology, right? It's an energy.
Yes. So
And
what do you mean by that?
well, I mean, we all have, I mean, masculinity and femininity aren't attached to our physical bodies. I mean, in terms of, it's not a matter of whether you're pee standing up or not. We both have the masculine and feminine energies, and some people
Yeah.
are more balanced and some people are less, one way or the other. And we can see that all everywhere in our lives. So I wanted to ask that question because you also teach men. It's not,
Yes, I
yes.
do. I do.
Oops.
And I'm actually working right now with some incredible men that I'm coaching that are top performing men. They're super successful. And it's really interesting. I think one thing I would say that is really interesting between men and women is that from the culture that got created over the years, I'm finding that top successful men have a harder time coming into the emotions. They
Mm-hmm.
need a little bit more help. And when they're with somebody, a woman that gives them, on one hand, you're absolutely right, we have the masculine and the feminine. So the masculine is when, both for men and women, is when we're achieving, when we're doing, that's masculine energy. But when I'm being and I'm staying open for things to come to me, that's the feminine energy. So when a man wants to do the work and he's met with this like super soft feminine energy, it makes it easier for him to be vulnerable. I was
Yes.
yesterday in a session with this guy, and his somatic imprint is what went into him through the different generations that impacted him. And there's such a deep trauma there. And he was prevented from receiving a lot of what he needed to receive that should be natural.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to me completely numb, couldn't feel a
Mm.
thing. And I took him into the somatic imprint and I did an assessment with them. And we started to go in, and his body was so overwhelmed by being felt in such a soft way. And he was like choking. He needed to cry and he couldn't. I was like, and I just brought this really, really soft energy for him. And I was like, it's okay for you to release this here. It's safe here. And it was one of the most profound sessions I've ever had with someone,
Mm.
where he cried and I wanted to cry with him for his pain. It was so, I could feel his pain in
Mm.
my own body, and holding space for him to just be able to release and release. And by the end of it, he said to me, you know, I don't remember when in life I was connected with somebody like that that felt me. And just hearing that, I wanted to cry. Just
Yeah.
like, imagine what a life he went through, that this was so profound for him, just being on such a deep, like I was with him, feeling with him everything that he was feeling to heal his nervous system and to correct it. And it was just so profound.
Now, I want to ask you what your opinion is on this, because you said he could release this, and I've been really thinking lately more about harmonizing,
Mm-hmm.
and that on so many levels, harmonizing the masculine and feminine within me, the light and the dark within me, all those parts that I want to cut out of myself and improve, right? Our whole track towards self-improvement is in essence a part of eliminating one thing. And I'm becoming more and more clear that it's not about cutting anything out or eliminating anything, but about bringing it up, bringing it in and bringing it up, shifting the vibrational frequency. So, and I'm not sure if I'm on the right track here, but I want to ask you,
Mm-hmm.
was he, I mean, definitely we can see it as a release, right? An opening up, but could that also have been a harmonization of, right? He was so overburdened on the masculine, but not even connected to the feminine. I'd love to know what you think about that.
So the way I work, the way I heal the nervous system, and that will tie into what you said nicely, you'll understand where we're going with this, is that when, let's talk about what causes the trauma. The trauma is caused because let's take him, but it's true for a lot of people, most people, when there's a trauma from childhood, something happened to you,
Mm-hmm.
and this was too much for the nervous system of a child to be able to be with it. It could have fried your nervous system. So we shut down that area if we're lucky to protect our nervous system from frying.
Now, can I stop you there? Trauma, it can be anything on that spectrum. I mean, when we say trauma, we really think of like heavy duty stuff, but as a child, trauma could
No, that
be
could be something small, like somebody making fun of you in school. That could also
right.
be a trauma. Trauma has a range, and we're
Yes.
talking about deep trauma versus mini trauma. It's still trauma for the person who experienced it.
And especially for a child.
Of course, because it's too big for you to handle this on your own. Now, when is a trauma not created? Something happens, big or small,
Mm-hmm.
and there's somebody there connected to you, feeling with you what you're feeling. If you feel anger, if you feel sadness, if you feel pain, they're feeling with you. And when you do, the body knows how to release the emotion, to let it go. This is why we see children, they go like, ah, they get angry, and then hee hee hee, right? They
Right.
released it and
You
they
want to go
moved
play?
on. Yeah, let's go play, right? It's like they moved on because they released it in that moment. But when something happens that's traumatic, big or small, that gets stuck in that place because no one felt it with us. When someone doesn't
Mm.
feel with you, when what he went through, there was nobody to feel with him. And thank God he was able to shut down that area. Because if not, what I see in my work is that when people are not able to, a lot of people end up in mental hospitals and mental illnesses because the nervous system is so fried because it was too much and they couldn't, makes them sick. So anybody who's able to shut down, which is actually a good thing, what happens is that area remains shut down with
Mhm.
unprocessed emotions. So it's not about kicking out a part of yourself. It's
Yes.
about, like that child, teaching your body again to bring that emotion that was stuck and to release it. So if there was anger, let's say, stuck, or whatever it was that you couldn't feel at the time because you weren't allowed to, you were judged for it, whatever happened there, or you were just abandoned with it. Then suddenly when someone feels with you, what I did was I connected to his nervous system. I could tell what he was feeling. I was like, oh, you feel heaviness. Oh, you're hurting. And he was like, how do you know? Like, I'm feeling what you're feeling. I'm in your body feeling with you. And then as he feels being felt, his body goes back into discharging those emotions and releasing them. And in that sense, healing the nervous system. So we're just, in a sense, I'm a plumber.
Or an archaeologist.
Oh, sure.
Excavating.
Sure. Let's go for
Yeah, I
it.
love it. Really powerful. Very, very powerful.
Really powerful. So,
And
when I was at, I want to jump just for a second to
yeah,
Rhythmia.
perfect. That's where I was
I
going. We're
Yeah,
so in
when I was teaching at Rhythmia, one of the things I loved was that some of the people that were there at the time were saying to me, they said it in these words. It's not my words. I'm not giving myself credit, but they said, "We feel like you're a little angel that was sent to help us here." Because I would walk around and I would see people having breakdowns because they didn't know how to move through stuff. And then I would do this process with them and help them move through that. And then they would come back, "Oh, I'm doing good." And they go like, they go with you, they cry, they come back, they're smiling. What are you doing to them? I was just helping them process.
Yes,
Whenever I
that's
come and then
all
heal
it
it.
is. The
Yeah.
medicine is bringing up the areas within us that are seeking to be brought to the light. Those
Hmm.
stuck emotions, those congealed areas, right?
Right.
And and the integration is 50% of the ceremony, right? The ceremony is part of it, and the rest of it, the other 50%, is what you do outside of ceremony to integrate what you've seen. And so I think we're playing with these words: release, harmonize, integrate, but I think it's all the same. We have to clear the blockage so that flow can occur again.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I just
Exactly.
want to take a quick second because it feels good here to do that and just acknowledge everyone, Susan and Dorota and Jessica and Shelly and Kieran and Lisa. And where's my brother
Everybody.
Emmanuel from Ghana, and
Amazing.
Rachel? Thank you all for joining us. Um, so okay, so let's talk about um, your experience at Rhythmia. What
Mhm.
yeah, how did you see your work? I mean, I can see all sorts of connections, but so that you can kind of bring it out for our listeners, the sort of dovetailing of what you're doing and your experience at Rhythmia.
Rhythmia was a profound experience. I didn't come knowing what I was getting myself into. And I found myself in something that was, in my opinion, sensational, really, because I feel that um, experiencing the ceremonies and even more so the shamans, the whole experience of what it's like to be with people who are living in the knowing, as they call it. And that's like they look in your eyes and they can tell all the way to your soul what is going on. That reminded me of my grandma. She had that ability.
Mm,
And it felt like being in the presence of a lot of incredible wisdom, and the kind of wisdom that's ancestral, that goes through generation to generation, not just someone going like, "Oh, I'm a shaman because I've done this and this," but people who have, Rhythmia has incredible quality of being like this, the best of the best. And I think also for me, it was about Rhythmia. It was about that sense of love. Like, I've been to different places that do transformation and stuff, and a lot of times there's a lot of ego attached to that transformation. Oh, we're this or we're that, and it's like, but Rhythmia really felt pure, a pure heart,
mm,
and such a beautiful community that I just truly fell in love with the place and the people and with you and and Jerry and everyone, because I think that you're doing something so beautiful and magical. And the experience for me was profound. Like, I've never gone through ceremonies before, and I saw things that I felt shifted my life forever. Like going back to the trauma with my mom who's mentally sick, and getting to see it from a completely different point of view, where I kind of really, I always felt like I was abandoned by my mom to her mental illness. Like,
mm,
she was taken away from me, and being able to see that in the ceremony and see that she made a choice to protect me because
mm,
she was sick and she was hurting me, and she put herself into a mental hospital to make sure she didn't hurt us. That was profound to see that. That was so profound. It was life changing.
yes.
And and I think that, I almost feel like you're doing it through medicine, and I'm doing that through emotions and sensations, because at the end of the day, we're doing the same kind of profound work of healing people. And this is why when I saw people coming, the second day after the first ceremony, I was going like, wow, people, everything surfaced and people are not used to being with it. And they don't know how to move through these emotions in the body to be able to let it pass through. And it's interesting because in the method that Rhythmia teaches, they kind of get stuck on showing you the truth of who you have become because they're so stuck there and it's so hard for them to be with the truth that
It
they
is the
get,
hardest one.
yeah, and that it's like you get this resistance, but it's like when you're able to, when you know how to move through emotions and sensations in a body in such a way, it's actually a lot easier. And I feel like I jumped in, I was like, oh, this is easy because I've already done so much work before through somatic intelligence. So I can just go like, day 4. Like,
I think this is can I interject something here?
yeah.
Uh, one of the questions came up. Let's see, do we do ceremonies in California or just in Costa Rica? And I thought this was a good question to kind of bring in here, because what you're talking about is the Rhythmia experience, which is not just ceremony, right? We bring in
No.
amazing guest speakers like you who can help walk that path during that week. We have other metaphysical classes and amazing teachers and practitioners teaching the classes. We have medical doctors and psychologists, PhDs. Then we also have the shaman and the indigenous tradition and farm to table organic food and colonics and mud baths. And Shelley says it's the whole pie. That's right, the whole
It is the
enchilada,
whole pie.
the whole burrito, the whole shebang. But that particular combination of ancient wisdom and modern technique uh, elicits a very specific result. And so, Gina, to answer your question, we are only in Costa Rica because we're medically licensed in Costa Rica, and currently, ayahuasca is a Schedule 1 drug. It is considered to be like heroin or cocaine or crack, according to the federal government in the
And
United
let
States.
me say something about that because I think one of the most amazing things that I experienced at Rhythmia is that I was really afraid of the medicine,
Mm-hmm.
and I came in and I was completely resistant to trying the medicine, and it was the fact that there were doctors there, and Dr. Jeff knew when I went in a conversation with them, and I kind of started bringing up what worried me because of my mom's mental illness and what I experienced and the trauma in the body and all that. He knew exactly. He knew exactly like about mental illnesses and what could happen and this and that. And it was just so reassuring because I said to him, like, okay, if my body gets stuck in fight or flight, what would you do? And he was like, we're going to give you a shot of serotonin and this is going to go up, this is going to go down. We're going to balance you within an hour. You'll be back. I was like, wow, these guys know what they're doing. This is not just a matter of like, hey, we're just serving you medicine, but it's like there's a
Right.
whole medical aspect of it. It's so solid that
And,
gave confidence.
and I think that, again, the combination of modern science, we have the full clinic and the medical doctors and EMTs and all of that, uh, as well as the tradition of ayahuasca from the Amazon basin in Colombia. Um, and it's very similar to what you're doing, right? You're bringing in this ancient inherent wisdom of the
Mhm.
body and combining it with modern technique and understanding of psychology. And it's a beautiful mirror. uh,
Mhm.
but this is why there's such a uniqueness to what you're doing, a uniqueness to Rhythmia. And yeah, you can go take a dance class somewhere, or you could go find somebody
Cuba,
who's uh,
to Cuba where the source is and do it the real way.
right, or for like ayahuasca, there are lots of people renting an Airbnb in Topanga Canyon or in Sedona, and drinking medicine. But the particular combination, like you said, you collated 25 years of insight and research into this program
Mhm.
that combines all of this, and this is what Rhythmia is. So it's really, really beautiful to see that, because it's a recognition that there's something unique in this expression. Not that it's the only one. You can go other places. There's other ways to achieve These are very unique
But
and
I think
effective ways.
someone wrote this, and I love this because someone said it was running, so I didn't say, but said it's more than just the medicine. It's this one amazing community that adds to Mama Ea magical herb. It's so true. Like it's really the community more than like. There's so much amazing stuff, and in California, you're not going to have the monkeys also, but
That's or the iguanas.
you know, but it's the feeling. It's the feeling at Rhythmia. Like really, there's true love. There's
Yes.
true love. You feel the love, and it's not like a woo woo kind of love. It's just really love between people. It's beautiful.
It is one of the main reasons people come back is community.
Hmm.
And
Belonging, belonging.
belonging. Yes.
We there are three things that we want as human beings: dignity, safety, and belonging. Those are the core three things that drive most human beings, and it's like the belonging is so strong at Rhythmia.
And you know what? Very interesting. Uh, I'm thinking of, are you familiar with the Jewish philosopher Anna Arendt? Hannah Arendt. She
Mm.
wrote after around World War II. After World War II, she wrote a book called The Origins of Totalitarianism,
Mm.
and it was all about how this happened, right? How the Third Reich happened, how all of uh, the atrocities,
Mhm.
um, and she identified the origins of totalitarianism are alienation, anxiety, privation, alienation, anxiety, and privation, and attenuation. So alienation, you're disconnected, not feeling connected. Anxiety, the anxiety arises from the privation and the attenuation, right? Attenuation is like a rubber band. When you pull a rubber band and it gets thinner, that's attenuated, right? It's stretched.
Mm.
And privation is not is being deprived. It comes from the word deprivation, or it's of that same etymology. So when you have a group of people that are feeling disconnected, their backs up against the wall, their basic
Mhm.
needs are deprived, and they're feeling stretched to the maximum, and they're overridden with anxiety, they're looking for some unifying principle that's going to give them a sense of belonging. And what did you say the three things we want are dignity, belonging, and
Safety.
safety? So
Mhm.
that was what was offered
Mhm.
in Nazi Germany to a disconnected country after World War One, when all of the European countries just basically had so many, I can't think of the word, um, restrictions on Germany. It's also what I believe happened on January 6th in the United States, and the
Mhm.
rise of this populist movement that Donald Trump was able to capitalize on, because he spoke to a group of people in the United States that felt alienated from the country because of a
Mhm.
liberal push, right? And you got this conservative backlash, and they felt like their jobs were being pulled away, right? The alienation, anxiety, privation,
Mhm.
attenuation, and he provided a clarion call of unification and belonging,
Mhm.
and it's so strong. These are the origins of totalitarianism. Anyway, that all came up to me when you said we want we want the basic needs. I was just
Belonging.
affirming what you
Yeah.
said. Although this
Yeah.
isn't a show for me to talk, it's for you to talk. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, it's okay, it's okay. But one of the things that I've experienced in Cuba, over the years of spending so much from my dance academy and then all the way to studying all this sabrosura and what heals our bodies, I really like Cuba. Rhythmia reminds me of Cuba because in Cuba you walk on the streets and there's love between people, like
Mhm.
really love between people, and you go like, wow, what are we doing wrong in the world as human race that we lost that? Like that should be everywhere. And I think that being the last 16 years, spending so much time in Cuba every year, that got so ingrained in me that when I started creating the community of somatic intelligence, first of all, I call it the SI family, because it's a family. And then we treat people like family. And we created this group called Wisdom of the Sabasura on Facebook. And people come in and it's profound. You've never been in a group like this because people really know each other,
Mhm.
and we spend time with them, and they go through programs, and they open up, and we're with them, supporting them. It's not about selling stuff. It's really about creating this amazing transformation that, my vision is that 500,000 people will be transformed by 2038. These amazing change
Let's
makers
just
will
stop
be
and feel
able to
that.
pay it. Yeah.
500,000 people transformed by 2038.
Hmm.
Beautiful. I'm just standing in agreement with you on that.
Yeah. So imagine if we had 500,000 change makers who are able to pay it forward, and they were healed, and they were able to now go into their communities and what they're doing and then pass that over. Like,
Hmm.
wow, the impact.
Absolutely. And,
Mhm.
I think it's very interesting. Another thing that came to my mind while you were sharing about Cuba is uh, probably, let me ask you this. I know a little bit about Cuba. Um, I've worked with a lot of Cubans. I ran a salsa nightclub for a lot of years, and actually
Ooh,
brought
ooh.
musicians from Cuba. And this was in Tucson,
Mhm.
Arizona, where we have a highly uh, advanced Cuban studies department at the University of Arizona. So I was in partnership with the university, but I've never been, right? But what I knew when the Cubans came to my club, and it was they're what do I want to say? First of all, I always felt like they could just look right through me. Like there was just like no bullshit, right? But also there was that connectedness, which I think also has an aspect of civic duty, because there is such a strong sort of sense of community and connection
The
based
word is the word is solidarity.
solidarity. Thank you.
Solidarity. Don't forget that it's a communist socialist country, and that everybody, I'll say it in a simple way. Someone said to me once, a friend in Cuba said, I only had a couple of drops left of oil, and my neighbor came and asked for it. I said, did you give it to him? And he said, yes. I said, why? Like you're not, thinking mentality the way we live in the West.
Right.
And I said, why? You're not going to have any now. He said, because that's how we live here. Tomorrow I'm going to need eggs, and eggs are really hard to find. And where he works, there are eggs. We lean on each other. We can't survive if not. If he needs the oil, I give him the oil. Tomorrow I'll give me his eggs. That's the way we live. And it's like, wow. When you're there completely leaning on each other. When I arrived to Cuba in 2005, I walked in the streets of Havana, and a guy comes up to me and he says, you're a foreigner, aren't you? In Spanish. And I go like, how do you know? He goes, because I know all the neighbors and you're not one of them.
Hmm.
And to come to a place like this, there was a 2 years later, I was leading a trip in Cuba and a program in Cuba, and I was running around, and it's like here, there, and I've got my to-do list and I got things to do. And this guy stops me after like 2 hours. He puts his hand on my shoulder, goes like, and he goes in Spanish, do us a favor, get a mojito or something, because you're driving us crazy all day running. And I was like, wow, here's a city where everybody's really still connected, when they can feel each other. And my energy is creating like this frequency in the city that's driving people crazy right now because I'm not in tune. And suddenly, Lenny, we're always that connected. When you're in Aya, you understand that connection. It's always there. And we're really like with Aya or with Aya, we're always that connected, but we don't feel it anymore because we're so disconnected.
Yes.
So to land into a place that's so embodied, like you say, they see three, they are so embodied.
Hmm.
They are feeling everything, not so much in their heads like the Western world, like, they're feeling life. And it's like you suddenly land into that and you go like, okay. I had to change the speed of my walking in Havana. I walk into Havana speed when I'm there.
Yeah. Well,
So
this is
like,
oh, I'm sorry.
go
So
ahead.
this is a perfect transition into really kind of what's up for you and the offerings. I see that Debbie asked, what was that? The wisdom of, and I'm
The
thinking
wisdom of the Sabrosura.
Sura.
So yeah, anybody who wants to join the group, go to Power of the Sabrosura and could just say Rhythmia, that you're from Rhythmia. We'll let you in. You're good people that we want in there. So feel free. Power of the Sabrosura. Sabrosura. As it sounds like, Sabrosura is, hold on, I'll write it down. Sabrosura. Sabrosura is Sabrosura. Sabrosura. So
And
yeah.
so they can find out more about you. And you have a workshop coming up that's amazing. Tell us a little bit about the trips that you used to do before COVID, and I'm sure we'll be coming back soon. and then how you've taken
So,
that online. I want everybody to know
yeah,
what's up for you.
yeah. So I typically do different programs. We had before COVID already 2 programs running that were just sensational. One was a program just for women, and one was for men and women. One was in Havana, Cuba, and one was in Marrakesh in Morocco. I couldn't find more exotic places to go.
And we were
And
going to go, I was going to be there in June with you.
I know, I
I was
know.
so excited.
I know. So the one in Havana is really about embodied femininity, where we get women into it, and it's like it's amazing because we bring only 20 women, and we have 10 instructors. Can't Yeah, that's the way you spell Sabrosura. Very good. Wisdom of the Sabrosura. Go for it. Right, that you're from Rhythmia. So the Power of the Sabrosura program in Havana is an 8-day program. We bring 20 women. We put 10 instructors to teach them almost one-on-one. And we teach you how to embody your femininity by doing all these courses that are through the body. So from the minute you come there, you drop into your body and you start to feel and live through it the way you talked about Cubans, the way they're so there. And we teach them how to embody the sabrosura and how to embody that masculine intention and how to embody the elegance and how to embody the mystery, which is where the seduction is, and how to embody the tempo, the enjoyment, so that you're enjoying life to the fullest. And these things impact so many important things. Like you think seduction, you think, ooh, who wants to learn seduction? But seduction at its core is your attraction power. When you're able to draw to you, that's what you draw for marketing, for negotiations, for relationships, for charm when you're trying to interact. It's at the core of so much of our success when we think about it and frame it differently. So seduction is not just about, oh, I'm seducing you sexually so that you'll want me, but it's actually an incredible power that taps into our self-worth and confidence. Like to be able to really embody seduction the way we show it, for example, your self-worth and pride have to be solid from elegance. So
Mm-hmm.
all these elements really bring you back to your true nature. And when we talked before about traumas and what happened and how we get into dissonance. It's like we're off. We're not in our core. We lost that presence that's just lens. Then we bring you back into alignment. And from the minute you dive into your body and you kind of drop in, it's like you'll see a lot of women, for example, the first day and they start crying. They're crying because suddenly they're in their bodies and they're feeling instead of disconnecting and being in their heads, not because something bad happened. And then we help them release it and come back home to the body, chill. And it's like, I have a video on the site of Oana. I love this video. This is a successful doctor, gorgeous woman. She was living in Europe. She came to this program. You see at the beginning of the video and you barely notice her. It's like she doesn't exist. And she
Mm.
leaves at the end. She looks gorgeous, stunning, like a goddess, this amazing feminine divine energy, and is so embodied and go like, whoa, did that happen in a week? And she was like, she couldn't believe that happened to her in a week. And she's worked so hard since to like sustain that, to not let it regress, to work with it. So that's the program in Havana. And the program in Marrakesh, one of the things I see, so let me back up. So one of the reasons I do the program for the Havana one is because so many women lose their femininity. And you see this with the patriarch, and you see this with the business world, where women are treated as weak if they show their femininity as if it's a weakness, instead of going like, oh my God, this is their power. So over the years, with the way businesses were running, a lot of women, successful women, they lose their femininity. They don't know how to connect with it. And the same when there's a trauma, because if you were abused, for example, sexually, how afraid are you to touch your sexual energies after that, thinking that you're going to bring that on yourself? So to be able to heal that and to be able to release what got and bring women to their powerful place, it's like, I want like, out of the 500,000, I want 200, 250,000 to be like these goddesses running around and changing the world. So then when we do the Marrakesh retreat, the Marrakesh, like you see all these people who are men and women alike, and they're all about achieving. And they get into this singular focus, right? Like we got to block all these things and we got to succeed, but they forget the fun. And it's not just about what you want to achieve. Sometimes you gotta sacrifice and be in singular focus, but then you have to expand, like it's gotta breathe. And people forget that. And then we're talking about executive presence, how to really get embodied and land there, and then how to deeply relate to people to the level that it becomes like family. So I drop you into Marrakesh, and Marrakesh is a place that's full of pleasure. It's like it's the smells and it's the hammams and it's all full of this pleasure. All these places I go to are full of pleasure. Cuba is too. And I throw you into all these classes to teach you all these amazing things, but at the same time we go on these crazy adventures. We're in the desert and a party under the stars, and there's like a pool, and it's like we're riding camels, and then we're going to hammams to get like all the views. And so I'm putting you into a schedule. It's like that singular focus, and then at the end of the day we expand to like crazy fun. And in all of the retreats you'll find that from morning till night they don't have phones. So that's one of the requirements. So you deposit in the morning, they get it in the evening. So you're 100% present and
Mhm.
feeling and embodied. And then we teach you what to do with it and how to take it to a whole new level so that you can get to the next level and have phenomenal impact and reach your fullest potential, really.
It's just sounds amazing. And the comments, people are agreeing. But now that we're not currently able to travel, you're offering an online course that's coming up.
Yes. So, you know,
And the curriculum looks amazing.
thank you. Thank you. So I'll tell them in a minute about it. So one of them, I was sitting and kind of going like, okay, a year went by. We haven't been able to run our retreats. Here's another year that's starting, and God knows when we'll be able to run retreats, hopefully by the end of the year, but no one knows. And I see all this need for all these things, all this, and this specific program is just for women. And I was like, we got to get to the women right now. And one of the things since I left Rhythmia is that I've dived deeper into the shamanic stuff and doing
Mhm.
sessions. I've been with Leo, I've been with Jessica, I've been with Mitra, and really diving deeper, and one of the things that I was like, wow, women embodying their femininity, coming back home to their natural place so that they can have this phenomenal impact. But if they don't know how to come back, if they don't even know what they don't know, they don't even know what's missing because they've never even felt it through their mothers, their grandmothers, like this ancestral line, then how can we bring it to them? And how can we do a program online when we can't do what we're doing in Havana? I cannot translate what we're doing in Havana to the online. We need to touch, we need to move, we need to be with them in the same room. So I was like, how can I put this together? So I basically brought four other top transformational leaders, and that would be too expensive to fly them, to Havana for 1 week for 20 people. And I'm saying, what are the things that we do online that I've been doing online to study and grow and like really evolve, because there wasn't anything else that I know is sensational. The kind of stuff that I've been looking for 20 years and picked like this, like you do at Rhythmia, and going like, wow, this is like top notch, incredible. So in this program, we're doing a virtual retreat called Wisdom of Embodied Femininity. In over 2 days, I've created this beautiful, soft and feminine process where we start in the morning with an opening of about half an hour. Then they get an hour of breath work with Angie, she's going to bring the divine feminine to even breathing with pleasure. So she's going to take them out of resistance and into flow. And in the pleasure, for example, she does these breaths and she goes like, okay, this is a release. And then she goes, let's do that with pleasure. She goes like, I'm like, oh, yummy. I want more of that. And then we're going to teach them how to embody the confidence and kind of like the containers for the vulnerability through the elements that I talked about, like elegance, like intention, how to hold the boundaries and the dignity. And we move from that into processing emotions and sensations, like what I told you that I did with people. Nicholas is going to do that. Then I'm going to do sabrosura class, so that it gets all yummy in the body. And then when we get to the end of the day and people are ready to almost surrender because so much information and through the body and breakthroughs and aha moments, Jessica is going to do a native healing session, and she's going to tap into the divine feminine through the chanting, the same as it feels when you're doing the ceremonies. And we've built this amazing process that we tested and tested till we figured out how to crack it, so that you're going to have this feeling of expansion, of love and healing in a place where you might have never gotten any of that love from your mother or ancestral line. Then second day, we're kind of repeating a similar thing, but Angie's going to go deeper into breath. I'm going to do another subversive session. Then we're going to have Nicholas show them how to heal the feminine lineage, like really going to like the mother and the grandmother and how we heal that. And then we're going to have a seduction class where we're going to go into like that attraction power to feel our confidence, this enviable confidence, and finish with an integration process and a Cuban fiesta. So it's a gorgeous program for women that really want to get embodied, like unreal, and you won't find anything like it anywhere in the world, like even
Indeed.
face to face and also online.
So that's also more information on that is at
So the best way to do is to go to our website into Power of Somatic Intelligence, power of somaticintelligence.com, and they'll see a link to the virtual Wisdom of Embodied Femininity virtual retreat under our retreats, and all the information is there.
beautiful. Oh, it's going to be fabulous.
Oh, oh.
Felipe made a comment or that I want to respond to, and just because we're kind of coming to the end of our time. It always flies by so fast, and this flew by
Yeah.
exceptionally fast because it was just so wonderful to be with you. Uh, but he says, feminists will win the fight when they realize they need men, helping men enlightening their feminine side. That comment, right?
Can I
And
can I respond to that?
yeah, please.
So I don't think that first of all, I don't see it personally as feminism. Coming
Thank
back home as a woman to her femininity, that's not feminism. That's just coming back home to who we are. At the same time, as you've heard before, we're doing programs for men and for women because I absolutely agree that we need to work on both sides. It's never one side of the equation. I'm putting this program right now because I can't put three programs all at once out. And I mean, Corona kind of kicked us in the butt where we had to reshuffle quickly. But I absolutely think that we need to work on the female side and on the feminine side. And there will be in the future the wisdom of masculinity, of embodied masculinity as well, which will have also lots of feminine divine in it.
And I would add to that, Felipe. There's a great book by um, Robert Bly. It's called Iron John, and he uses one of the archetypal myths of Grimm's fairy tales to talk about male initiation and the difference between mature masculinity and immature masculinity. And I think what he's talking about is really what you're pointing to, that the mistake of feminism, as Chen so correctly distinguished femininity from feminism. Feminism is this idea of of um, of equality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great idea. But the real, I think, point is that the patriarchy um, is just as harmful to men as it is to women
Mm-hmm.
because it encourages this sort of immature masculinity of cutthroat competition and elimination of the opposition at all costs, the sort of Lord of the Flies mentality, if you will. And that this isn't so much about feminism or masculinity, but rather it is about the dynamics of power that we see executed everywhere. And um, yes, I guess I would just say that now what we really want to see is through the work of the power of somatic intelligence, through the work of the plant medicine in places like Rhythmia, through the work of meditation and mindfulness practices, all of this is bringing us to a deeper awareness of the fact that a mature masculinity or a mature femininity probably never existed on the planet. We haven't really experienced that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we're working towards, a full embodiment of nothing to do with our biology. Masculinity and femininity have nothing to do with our biology, but more it is an energetic expression overlaid on the biology. And so, yes, in essence, I agree with you, Felipe. And in our final uh, in our final moments, anything that you want to add, anything that I missed asking you, anything that's bubbling up
Well,
that wants to be expressed.
I wanna give. I prepared a little gift for the women. So for the women here, I prepared. There's a 5 steps to embodying your femininity gift for the women. It's at feminine. What's the link? FeminineTrueNature.com. So any woman that wants the free gift can go to FeminineTrueNature.com and grab it. And yeah, and anybody wanting, just reach out if you're interested in the retreat. If you're interested in joining us into the group, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. Just shoot me a message and Feminine True Nature. And
Is that right? FeminineTrueNature.com. And then
yeah,
it
can
was
we
the power of Sabrasura, or
the wisdom of the Sabrasura. And where are you typing this? Is this in a private chat?
no, I guess I have it on my screen and you don't.
Oh,
But
so
wisdom.
also post for them this one. This is the virtual retreat. I
Oh,
sent
there we
you.
go. Okay, so let me
This is
just
the
copy and
virtual
paste
retreat,
that.
and I'll send you the link to the group, so you can give that to them as well if they want to.
There's that.
Here we go. Hold on. It's just coming up.
Wonderful. Well, while you're typing that in, I'll copy and
Here we
paste
go.
it.
Yeah, here it is.
Okay, and I'm going to just copy and paste this really quickly so that you all can see this too. And I just want to thank everybody for spending some time with us this afternoon. I want to thank you, Chen, for staying up late. I really appreciate it. And I'm so grateful to have this time to connect with you. And I just love you so much. Thank you.
You know how much I love you. It's actually a pleasure to be here with you. I feel like I'm with my best friend.
I really love it. Right. It was just such an easy conversation.
Oh, you don't do this every week.
I know. We should do a co-show. Thank you. All of the comments, Shelly and Leonie and Suzanne and anybody that I missed. Just thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for being with us and for being so active and pouring in your thoughts and emotions and what's coming up for you. That always makes it so much more interesting to interact with people.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Much love. Thank you all. Chen, stay on. We're just going to go off live.